Hello world, hello Facebook, hello all those watching this on listenvisionlive.com. It's the Nitty Gritty Show. It's your boy Jay DeCosta.
It's your girl Katniss.
And together we are the Nitty Gritty.
It's Tim Wise. You're watching the Nitty Gritty Show.
Everybody, this is Stevie Powell. You're now watching the Nitty Gritty Show. Check it out.
And so I'm the Costa. You need to watch the Nitty Gritty Show.
My name is Sherman Moss, and you're watching the Nitty Gritty Show.
That's the Grant Thompson, aka G. Ainsworth, and you're watching the Nitty Gritty Show.
I'm Anthony White, and this is the Nitty Gritty Show.
Yeah. Bam, it's Jay Thompson. You're watching the Nitty Gritty Show.
You are watching the Nitty Gritty Show.
My name is Jay Grant Thompson, and guess what? You're in tune to the Nitty Gritty Show.
I'm Will Jawando, and you're watching the Nitty Gritty Show.
And my name is Mitch Holmes, and you're watching the Nitty Gritty Show.
And my name is Ingrid DeCosta, and you're watching the Nitty Gritty Show.
This is Pastor Rob, and you're on the Nitty Gritty Show.
I'm Ray Pittman, and you're watching the Nitty Gritty Show.
Hey, this is Joni Ford of Ford Wilderness, and you're watching the Nitty Gritty Show.
Yo, what's going on? It's your boy Benny Black, and you are watching the Nitty Gritty Show.
It's time for the Nitty Gritty. Conversations get real live. It's time for the Nitty Gritty. The revolution's not televised. It's time for the Nitty Gritty. Reaching out to your conscious mind. It's time for the Nitty Gritty. More than talking, we taking action.
Hey, what's going on world? What's going on Facebook? Everybody watching this live on Listen Vision Live. It's your boy Jay DeCosta.
It's your girl Katniss.
And together we are
the Nitty Gritty.
Happy to have you guys on the show today. We got a great show. Sorry for everyone watching this live too right now. I know it's a little bit of a delay. Technical difficulties, but we always work through them. Happy to have the Scotts on the Nitty Gritty. This is the third and final installment of our love and relationship series. And of course, we want to end it with a married couple. So, we've been talking about black love. We didn't have the sisters on. We had the brothers on. Everybody gave their part. But now we get to have a husband and wife joining matrimony and unity and love to finish this thing off. Look, so to tell you a little bit about Jerome and Sondra, they got married October 7th of 2006. Jerome is a Charlotte, North Carolina native. Sondra's from Brooklyn, New York. Brooklyn, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry to hear that. No, wow. They met in the military. Brooklyn's all good. They met in the military, stationed in Korea. Sondra's a Navy vet, Jerome's an Army vet, and they have two beautiful children, Sinai and Jothan. Amazing children. I love the babies. So happy to have you guys here. We're going to have a great show. We're going to get down to the nitty gritty. But of course, for those that watch the show, before we get down to the nitty gritty, we got to knock out these quick to hell whiffs. I'm going to run through them fast. First one, the overuse of cultural appropriation. Appropriation, the action of taking something for one's own use, typically without the owner's permission. Culture, the customs, arts, social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation, people, or other social group. Look, Irish people don't get mad about St. Patrick's Day. Mexicans don't complain about Cinco de Mayo. Catholics don't even get mad when every year people celebrate Mardi Gras and Fat Tuesday with no regard towards Lent and all their other traditions. But we're so upset about people wearing some African, clothing to a movie because they're white or they're Mexican. Look, let people join in on the fun. They're not trying to disrespect. They're trying their best to embrace something that's ours. We have a whole Black History Month, but it's not just for Black people to celebrate it. It's for all people to recognize it. So let people recognize and celebrate. We got to come off the foolishness. Cultural appropriation are the Kardashians calling cornrows Bo Derek braids, Elvis Presley being the king of rock and roll when clearly that individual is Little Richard, Chuck Berry, or Ray Charles. So let's get over it. Second to hell with, people don't have their own streaming accounts. So I know everybody borrowing their cousin's friend's Netflix account, but when you do that, maybe that's why Monique can't get a better deal because we don't have enough streams to show that she will bring in more streams to the account. Just something to think about. We should do better about it. And then also I got to give Monique a to hell with because her whole, boycott Netflix over social bigotry and bias towards women and men is not really founded. I think it's a particular situation. But Kat brought up a good point earlier when we were talking about this. We don't need to drag Monique, right? And I do agree with you. We don't need to drag her. But I just wish she would just sit down somewhere so she don't have to get drugged. She's kind of bringing extra attention to herself. So need to do something about that. Quick blessings to Black Panther movie, 428 million US, 700 million worldwide. Weekend not even done yet. So like, the black dollar does exist across the nation and across the world. Let's keep on making these movies. And it is Pisces season. I'm not really into the zodiac, but I'm a Pisces. Birthday was not too long ago. But got to shout out Rashida Abdullah, Nala DaCosta, Juan DaCosta, Sonia Pollock, Kim Wright, Sharonda Dawson, and Natalie Altar. Some Pisces that are close to me. So got to shout them out. And then also Black History Month moment. This is the last day or the last show we would air for Black History Month. And I was like, which one should I do? I saw all these old ones. I was like, you know what? Let's shout out Barack Obama, first black president. Probably is going to go down as one of the best to ever serve this great nation. So I want to end it on a high note. Much love to Barack Obama, wherever you are in your family. You did an amazing job. I don't know if we're going to get anything like that for a long time. Hopefully we do. But I want to get down to the nitty gritty. I want to get down to this topic of love, marriage, and real life. A lot of expectations out here, a lot of talk. But then there's some real statistics too. So, that's something not to be ignored. Jay, can you play that video for me on marriage statistics? And then we're going to get down to the nitty gritty with the Scotts. So I like the way that ends. We're here because marriage matters, and that's why we wanted to end with a married couple. And a lot of those statistics are very alarming, but not a surprise. And I think a lot of people, everyone, when we watch, the Love and Hip Hops of the world, everybody's trying to put marriage on one person or one thing, but it's definitely it takes time and it's a group effort. But before we even get on the time and everything that comes with it, because we got a lot of questions for y'all, but we always like to hear the love stories. How do because how did you meet? What caught you? What caught your eye? What made this brother be the one for you? When he got down on his knee, why was you like, yes? So yeah, tell us your love story.
So interestingly enough, when we met, we weren't attracted. Well, we were friends. We weren't even attracted to each other. We were friends. For me. I was friends with him. He was friends with me, and we didn't start dating until after.
So he didn't even notice all of that? Thing's wrong.
Yeah, right. We were just friends. I mean, I think that's one of the things that makes our relationship as strong as it is, because we started off as really good friends first. Sure. And I know a lot of
and make sure you speak to the mic. My bad.
I know a lot of couples skip that step, just being friends first before they establish a more in-depth relationship.
That's what's up. And then when did you know, Sondra? When did you know, I don't
tell me that. When did I know? So I actually got stationed back here in Maryland, and so we didn't date when we met in Korea.
Got it.
So I was married before, so that was a no-no. So I was actually going through a divorce when I was in Korea.
Got it.
And so I was not interested in being in a marriage per se. I was going through my season of just learning and just being before God not interested in anybody. I needed that alone time. And so when I got back to Maryland, everything was done. And so I still needed that time. I was kind of like, it was me, him, and another young lady. We were going on a trip. We called it a trip that we were going on. And then she ended up reneging because she was in what was she at? She was getting stationed somewhere. She had like honor guard duty or whatever. But the trip never happened. So it ended up just being him and I going on this trip. Okay. So when did I know? I asked him the question because I didn't want to assume anything. I said, where are we going with this? What are we doing? I had to define the relationship. Like, I had to define it before it happened. Like, what are we doing? Because I didn't want to be playing no games with him. I was like, what are we doing? What is this? What are we doing? And he was...
And I'm laughing because that's literally how she asked the question. Like,
brothers get scared. So
what
are we?
I started laughing because what I'm saying, we had a really good friendship, and in my mind, I'm thinking like, wow, this could possibly be the one in my mind. And then she asked me the question, like, where are we? I'm like, I thought we was together. I mean, where you at?
He's like, in my mind, we already together. Like,
I needed to define it. Because I wanted to make sure that if this was going into a courtship, that I did it right. And so I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want to assume anything. So I wanted to be clear.
That's cool. And now 11 years of marriage later. What keeps you guys together? Like, before the show, you guys are cracking up, laughing, having a lot of fun. Yes. How do you maintain that? What has got you all this time?
I have learned, for me, it's an individual. I remember him writing this. We were doing a presentation, and he did this grid of this triangle, and he was talking about God and me and him. And so as long as I maintain my relationship with God and he maintains his relationship with God, we're all both going to the same thing. And so having that individual relationship with God has definitely helped me. And so I believe that that's what's happening with our marriage, that because we both have an individual relationship with God. That's just my take on it. I don't know about it.
And that's key. That's the foundation. I mean, for us, that's literally the foundation. I mean, every marriage couple, you talk to, they're going to have some hills, some challenges and mountains to climb. But that's the foundation. Having God as the center, we both have our individual relationship with God. And I won't say outside of that, but within that, we like to have fun. Yes. I think that's one of the elements that that keeps healthy relationships is you got to find a way to have fun. If it ain't fun, you're kind of miserable, man. Who signs up to be in a miserable relationship? Nobody.
It's just work.
It is work, but you got to find a time that to have fun and enjoy each other. And we literally have a great time just hanging out with each other. We do have 2 kids now, but when we do have that moment when we can go out and hang out, we have a really good time. Like we just now dating or newlyweds. We like to keep it fresh and just enjoy each other's company.
That's what's up.
Now, when you guys were courting, did you guys talk about the potential for kids? Did you guys talk about finances? Like, what were the questions that you guys asked? Because I think a lot of times people gloss over those things. Mm-hmm. And then when they get into something, they're like, well, I didn't know you didn't want kids, or I didn't know you only wanted 1 kid. Were those discussions had before you said, I do?
Yes. That actually came out in marriage counseling when we were talking about the children and the finances. Well, speaking about the finances, we were in debt individually. We had debt. And so when we came together, we had to come to that point where I remember that moment. It was like, oh my goodness, we got debt. Yeah. But all of that came out in counseling about how many children you want to have and all of that. But we had those off conversations, but a lot of it came out in counseling about the children and how many you wanted to have. So
Premarital counseling.
Yes.
How important do you feel like that premarital counseling was?
How important?
Yeah.
I think it's great. You get to talk about some things that you wouldn't normally talk about, just us by ourselves. So I think it's really critical having that Christian premarital counseling, because our counselors they would ask us questions that we didn't necessarily ask each other, and it gave us the opportunity to see where our stance was on those questions. So we learned a lot from each other and with each other by going through that counseling. And I think that was just a great foundation just to go that much more deeper to learn more about each other through premarital counseling. So it was huge.
That's what's up. I'm gonna jump in there one more. Ask one more question too. So, a lot of times, people see couples like you guys, and they just think like, well, that's because they got the perfect love story, right? And like, so they don't have hard times. Now, we're all good friends, so I know you guys personally. But how do you guys overcome those hard times? Because a lot of people, they think of the big wedding, and they have this fairy book idea that it's gonna be like watching one of the movies, like we're gonna wake up every morning, breath stink but still kissing, you know what I'm saying, like just all these things, but that's not realistic. And then people don't start thinking about those tough things like finances, and when things happen with families, and how are you gonna be there to support that person through all of that. Those are really tough things that a lot of people don't ever envision or keep in mind, like how to deal with. And you guys have some insight on that, and what could you tell our listeners about how to work through hard times, or how you pulled it together, when things get hard, and when life hits you, because life is going to come, whether you're having a good time or not. So, how do you guys work through that?
I believe what helps us is that we're equally yoked. So I don't have to pull from a hard place. Like, I can go to God, to the same God that we serve, and I don't have to go to him and nag him. Like, I can go to God and just pray, and I can see a shift. So I don't have to go to him if I have an issue, or if I feel like there needs to be a shift. I just go and I just pray, and I just ask God. And so a lot of the times it's not even about God, change him. I learn a lot within going to God and just saying, God, I need you to help me, adjust through this transition. And so one of the things that I learned reading a book called Love Dear, one of the takeaways in the book, it was talking about keeping your husband in the appreciation room and not in the depreciation room. So recognizing the good things that he brings to the table. So whenever we would have any hardships, I would remember the things. I would, still edify him and uplift him and respect him and honor him, even if I felt like things weren't the way it should be. But you still, you speak those things that be not as though they were. So you keep I just respect him and honor him. So even if I'm having a bad day, or we're having a bad day or a bad month, we had a couple of those years like that at the beginning where it was like, I was thinking like, man, wait a minute, this, but I recognized that this was a kingdom marriage, and I knew that the enemy didn't want it to happen. So he was trying everything at the beginning to tear us apart. So it was important for us to stay rooted and grounded in the word. So keeping him in the appreciation room is key.
Yeah. I like that. Kat, any questions?
Yes, I wanted to ask you guys about love languages. I've read that those are really important, because a lot of times people think, for example, if you're a person that is words of affirmation, you just try to love that person that way, and that's not what they want. So how important is love languages? How did you figure them out? Did you guys have some mishaps with love languages, and did that help you grow in your relationship?
Oh, love languages. Let me talk about that. So we started at the beginning with the love languages, and I realized that as years go by, each of us change. Okay. So I just did an update, and I realized that I like quality time, and I like affection. And so those were the two keys that were key for me, was affection and quality time, and acts of service was like the top three. I believe that it's important because I want to be able to be at a place where I can, help my husband. And so if I'm buying him gifts and that's not his love language, it's a waste of money. If all he wants
I would say.
You know what I mean? If all he wants is words of affirmation, I think it's kind of pointless to be buying him gifts, and that's not his love language. So I feel like it's really important.
And for me, I mean, we started laughing when you asked that question, because she sent me an email probably a couple weeks ago about doing a love language. It's like a little questionnaire test, whatever. I haven't taken it yet, but in the past though, basically I just asked her. We had that conversation where I asked her, I was like, what's your love language? And this was years ago, early in our marriage, because I wanted to know, like she was saying, I didn't want to do things assuming that, oh yeah, she gonna like this. Watching I come home, I'm gonna do this and do that, and she looking at me crazy like, what's this for? And I'm thinking I'm scoring some brownie points, and I ain't. But so we literally just had that conversation, man. We would go out to eat, or even at home, and we just have that conversation, like, what do you enjoy? What makes you smile? What is your love language? I ask you those questions, and you'll be surprised how just by having those simple conversations, how much you can learn about your spouse. I mean, because I think every man has an idea in his mind as far as how he wants to treat her and what he wants to do and how, he wants to kind of steer the relationship. But have that conversation with your wife, like, what makes you tick? What things do you love? What things, makes you smile? You learn those things by, just by experience, but just having that conversation is critical as well. Just ask them, have the conversation.
That's what's up.
Oh, I have a follow-up question. Yes. With that being said, what do you think are the foundational things people should definitely have in their relationship? For instance, people say, well, I value communication over anything else, but I feel like there are other things that you can equally value. What would you tell our listeners what you should value in a relationship? What are key things that are absolutely important that you have to develop in order to have a long, sustaining relationship?
Communication is one.
Okay.
Yes, I know it sounds probably cliche, and everybody says communication is key, but it really is. And I'll just speak for myself. I'm more of a reserved, kind of quiet guy, but I have learned that I have to communicate what I'm thinking, because I think sometimes for a lot of men we kind of I guess analyze things in our heads, and we kind of go into our corner and kind of figure out what the next move is. But I've learned that I have to talk to my wife as far as the things that I'm thinking about, because I can't leave it to her to assume what I'm thinking about. And it goes both ways. I may have had a conversation with her too, like she's like, babe, I thought you knew that, I like X, Y, and Z, or I thought you knew that, whatever. And I was like, well, you didn't say anything,
right.
So, but if you don't talk and have that conversation, you'll be lost, and you'll be spinning your wheels for months and years, just wondering why your relationship is not as close as it could be, because just simply not having that conversation with them, not communicating with them. And I think that's truly critical as far as having that communication and just talking about anything that, first of all, that bothers you, and anything that's on your mind.
Crucial conversations is what we call it.
Yeah, crucial conversations, man.
I like that, crucial conversations.
That's dope. That's gonna be a tagline I'm gonna steal from this. Crucial conversations. So there's a lot of talk about how much influence someone's mom is gonna play, someone's dad is gonna play. Well, my sister says, or my brother, or sometimes people just like what worry too much what their friends say. How do you guys manage the involvement of in-laws and like creating those boundaries, or like, okay, we understand you help with this, but this is the line that you can't come into our marriage. How do you guys create that, or or manage that over the years? Because that's a big one that I hear a lot of people struggling with, dealing with that influence. So how do you guys work through it?
I mean, we've been blessed to have great. I say for me, I have great in-laws. I call them in-laws, and sisters and brothers, and so it's easy. It's easy for us to have boundaries with them because I love them, they love me, and so it's not a matter of they respect our marriage and they respect our boundaries, and I don't even think we really have that many boundaries, but.
Yeah, I mean, like when we deal with challenges in our marriage, I think it's critical. And I would say to any marriage couple, you do have to draw that line as far as what you communicate and what you I guess disclose to your family.
Oh, yes.
Because everybody has an opinion about what you should or should not do within your relationship, and I think you just need to have that, be open and willing to have that conversation with your spouse. Like this is our home, this is our relationship, and not to allow those outside of our relationship to influence what we have.
Absolutely.
No, it's not perfect at times, but however, just having that conversation, be willing to say, hey, this is our relationship, and yes, I know it may get heated sometimes, but to not allow that to not to open up that door to others outside of relationship, because with God, we learned that with God in the midst of a relationship, we can work through anything. Not saying it's easy, but you can work through any and everything if God is first in the head of, and you're right in alignment in relationship with God. You can get through anything, man.
I like that. And then another thing that a question we got, like, because I'm trying to get through a lot of the questions that I know that people hit us up about, like, please ask this question. So one, and I know I've been involved in this conversation before too. Guys night out, girls night out, guys trips, girls trips. is it acceptable? Is it something that, just you have to communicate about? How does that work? Because there's a lot of people that say, oh, and especially more and more, I think, with influence, more people are like, yeah, no, I need a guy's night out, I need a girl's night out. But then you understand, like, that's how sometimes things get into the relationship. Or you'll see, like, the older generation didn't really do that. So then there's, it's one of those things like, are we just, are we modernizing ourselves to do it or allow it? But, that whole topic of guys night out, girls trips, whatever the case is, how does that play in the marriage? Does it have a place? Does it not? How does that work?
Okay. You want to answer that?
Go ahead. Start.
Okay, so I do feel like, I do think it's important that he has time alone. And I believe that it's important for me to have time alone. Not time alone per se with people, but just having that space outside of his work, outside of ministry. I believe that he needs that time to kind of regroup and refocus. Whether that be with guy friends, or me going out for coffee or tea with one of my girlfriends. But for the most part, our schedule is so tight that when we do have time, it's our vacation with the family. So a lot of the times when you say like girlfriend night and all that stuff, it's tight when you got kids. It's real tight. So when we do have that time, it's either we're going on a date or we're taking the kids out. And so just trying to find it because of the stage that the children are in now, we have small kids. So I say it's more difficult to plan those girl trips and guy trips for us per se. But for the most part, when we do get away, it's like family stuff. Like he just went away to celebrate his mom's birthday, with his family. So that's the kind of stuff that we do right now. That's the phase that we're in.
Got
it. Right. Not guys not out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but you do have time with your brother, so that's like guys not out. So.
But I guess, I think that's something that people don't even consider, the fact that, where are you going to realistically even have time for that? Because it's like, especially if you still work for the man, right? They only give you so much time off. And a lot of times because there's, doing life, it's like, well, we just need time just to go relax together. I haven't had a chance to really just, look into your eyes and say, I love you, and let's just go relax, right? So
I wanted to ask, what did the relationship look like prior to kids, and what does the relationship look like now that you have kids? Were there some challenges once kids came into play? I'm sure time management was a big factor, but how did the relationship shift, rather, when before kids? I'm just curious to know.
Before kids, we would get up and say, okay, what we doing? We would get on the road and just do stuff, get on the plane and fly out, and we would just go. But when the kids came, it was understanding our roles have shifted. And so that was hard. It really was hard. And it took, when I say it was hard, because I didn't take a moment to kind of think about, like, this is going to be a shift. And so when I really understood that it was going to be a shift, that meant that I can't just get up and go. It took me to just pray and ask God to give me the grace to be able to, go from being single to married and now motherhood. So it's just understanding and appreciating. That's the key word. Appreciating the stage that you're in. Don't look at your single friends and say, gosh, start regretting that, because what that does, it turns into comparison for one. And then you put on this unnecessary stress on yourself because you start comparing, like, oh, they're doing it. They're traveling and all that. But God has graced you with a child. Children are a blessing. And so those were one of the things that, God spoke to me about, that children are a blessing from the Lord. So once I started appreciating that new phase that I was in, it started to get easier. But it's learning and understanding that it's going to be phases of life, and appreciating the phases of life and being present in the moment.
Yeah. I would agree, man. I mean, of course it was different before we had children. You just kind of get up and go whenever you wanted to. But I've learned to appreciate it too. I love my kids, love spending time with them. Just love seeing them grow up. But you do need a break every now and then.
Yes.
We don't have that luxury of, we don't have a lot of family that lives close by. So it is challenging at times trying to, find someone that you actually trust to even watch your kids. But it's different now, but we're learning to enjoy the season that we're in. Learning to, like I said, just watch our children grow. You ask at this stage of the game, asking a lot of questions. And sometimes you be like, you just kind of make up something with them. Like, I'm going to think about that one,
They're very quick with it.
But it's amazing, man. I'm enjoying the season that I'm in right now. It doesn't feel like I'm burdened, like I got kids now, I can't do anything. I mean, if I do need a minute, my wife, she was very supportive and saying, hey, if you need a minute, go ahead. And she does the same thing. She say, babe, I just need to get out the house for a minute. I've been in the house with the kids all day. I need a moment. And I allow her to do that, man. And I think it's just having that respect for each other's time and that respect for allowing each other to have personal time as well.
That's dope. And, another question, because when we had our panels up, finances came up a lot.
Yes.
And so, we had our all women's panel. And that panel, we didn't have anybody that had been married yet or had any kids. But then we had our men's panel. And even then, there was like a big varying difference on, how much does money matter. And then we see this conversation on Facebook so much. We have some constant folks that's all they yap about on Facebook is money. I ain't gonna call his name out, but bro, you know who you are. I know you're in Miami right now having a good time. But yeah, how much does finances matter? I mean, I know you kind of touched on it earlier, but how much does that really matter? Because there's some folks that be like, I need a man that got 6 figures and doing this, that. Or I need a sister that's matching my income. Everybody's so worried about match my hustle, match my ambition. But, how much does that really matter? Is there a dollar amount? Does a dollar amount matter? Is there a perfect credit score? How much does that matter? How much of it is this you guys working together?
First, I just say that finances is huge, man, and it's one of those topics that a lot of couples just try to avoid and don't even have the conversation. First and foremost, of course, you're gonna have different views of it, just because you probably come from 2 different backgrounds, as far as training up how you understand how important money is. But we did agree before we got married that we would have joint accounts, on everything. There was no secret money. There was no, I got mine, you got yours. And it really helped us really draw closer together. I mean, 'cause I believe that if you can talk about finances together as a couple, you can really talk about anything. It's really, that's the number. I think that's one of the number one things is finances. That I heard the term I've heard before is financial infidelity. In other words, you pretty much you doing your own thing and you're keeping secrets from your spouse and vice versa. But as far as a dollar amount, I don't think there's really a dollar amount. I mean, when we got married, yes, we knew what our incomes were, but we were committed to the fact that regardless of what our income is, we stand together and we're gonna progress over the years, and we know that God was going to provide the increase, and that God was going to make a way. We didn't know how it was going to work out, but we just believe God that the finances is going to work out. First, we don't want to quarrel with it. Right. Second of all, we just trust in God that He's going to provide a way, and He literally has. Yes. I mean, I've went through employment, unemployment, no employment. I mean, we went through all the phases of finances, but we decided that we're going to stay committed and we're going to talk about those things as they happen. My wife, man, I love my wife, man, because a lot of women, you lose your job, they're gonna be like, you got about 2.5 months. You don't make something happen. I don't know. But my wife, man, she was just so encouraging through those stages. When I was unemployed, it gave me the energy and the passion, I'm gonna make it happen for my family. And I credit that a lot, first and foremost, to God for giving me a loving wife. My wife, she would encourage me. Because most men, that's if you can't provide for your family, you feel like crap, man.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
You feel like crap, man. But having a woman, a wife, man, that supports you even in those moments where you feel man, I don't know what to do. Having those encouraging words, from my wife, it definitely gave me that push and that desire and that passion. God, I'm trusting you, and He's never failed me, man. Never failed me, man. We've never missed a bill, never got behind on anything. It was just God just always made a way, man.
Always.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that you said that about being on one accord financially. It wasn't so much about we making the same amount of money. It's we have the same understandings about what the values about money are. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times in these conversations you hear now, no one cares about the value of how money is spent. They're more concerned about how much money is made. But whether you make $40,000 a year as a couple or $400,000 a year as a couple, if you don't have certain money disciplines in place, you're gonna have the same struggles regardless. Absolutely. And I'm happy that you guys brought that out because that's something that hasn't been said on either one of our panels. I know there was quite a few of the guys that felt like money don't really matter. We're gonna build this thing together. But I'm happy you specifically broke that down because a lot of times you just don't hear that anymore. And I think that's where our grandparents and our parents met about, like, we're going to make it work together. Because you can have a 6-figure job, but you can lose it too.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I'm happy y'all really brought that up. And then, a lot of times people are always like, when a man got to do this and a woman got to do this. First of all, like, are there really gender roles in a marriage? Are there some things that, just as a man, you're going to step up and do more so of, or as a woman, you're going to do more so of? And then, how much effort does it really require from both people?
I think that when you put so much emphasis on looking at the standards of what the world says about gender roles, I just go back to the Word of God. It tells me I am the manager of my home. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, so I manage my home. So whatever that entails for me, that's what I do. So I manage my home. I make sure the kids are good, make sure my husband's good. And if that means that, I got to stay up later and get their food ready and all that stuff, that's my role. And so I have gladly accepted that role because there are people that don't have that opportunity to be a mother. And so if God tells me that I'm the manager of the home, okay, if the corporate America says that they're going to pay me 6 figures to manage a business, I'm going to manage it to the best of my ability, correct?
That's right.
So why not do that in my home? If God says I'm the manager of my home, I need to manage it like it's a top-notch billion-dollar empire. And that's what I try to do. That's my attempt.
I like that. Jerome?
And I'm just keeping it simple, man. Back to the Word of God. I mean, the Word says a man don't work, he don't eat, man. And I'm the priest in my home, man. So I take that very seriously, man, as far as having that desire and, to provide for my family. That's always been my... I don't probably never tell my wife this, but that's always my prayer, my personal time with God. It's like, God, I just want to be in a position where I can provide for my family. It's not even about me. It's not about what I can get. Normally, I put myself last as far as providing for my family. And I take honor in doing that. I actually enjoy doing that, being able to see my family taken care of. And as far as gender roles, I mean, we do have things that I normally do, right. And she has things that she normally do, but we don't mind crossing roles. Absolutely. I mean, crossing, like, helping each other out, so to speak. Absolutely. There's certain things that she ain't gonna do, like, scrape snow off the car or something like that.
But I did last week.
I was out of town. But she had to do it, But if I'm at home, but I don't mind doing it though. It's not like, babe, why you didn't do this? It's like I just know when certain things happen. I have to got trash, clean up. I just make certain things happen. I take pride in doing certain things. And she takes pride in what she does too, man. So we have a respect for each other's role, but it's not like, oh, you supposed to do this because you're the wife, and you supposed to do this because you're the man. Like, we understand like what the responsibility God has given us, and we just try our best to operate in that role, and we respect the place that God has placed us in.
So if I can lighten his load, I lighten it. If he can lighten my load, he lightens it. So he's great at putting the dishes in the dishwasher. I mean, just. Dress right dress.
I got a pet peeve about certain things, but that's just me.
And so, Tuesday night, Monday nights is our trash night. And so if I know he's on a call, a conference, I'll gather the trash, have our son gather the trash. That's his responsibility. He gets all the trash out of the bathroom, and we'll bring it all the way downstairs. So, I don't expect him to be like, oh, you got to go to the bathroom and get all this stuff. I'll lighten his load. I know he's going to be on a call. I just go upstairs. We go upstairs and get the stuff, bring it all the way downstairs. So he's not running around the house trying to get the trash. We just lighten each other's load, and I'm learning that it helps each other. That's our love language. It helps. So. That's
what's up, Kat.
I just wanted to reemphasize. You guys keep bringing up the theme of God. It seems like it's very important to you and very foundation to you, a big foundation for you. How important do you think? I've heard people say, my parents who've been married now for 38 years, going on 39. They always say a lot of times God will give you peace of mind, or God will give you the supernatural power that you just can't explain, because sometimes things in life you have to call on a supernatural power. And of course, I don't want to perpetuate the Christian faith if that's not what you subject yourself to, but I do want to allow this platform to let you guys talk about the importance of God being in your marriage, and reiterating the fact that, I mean, how often do you guys pray? Do you guys read your word together? Is that a big part of your marriage?
Yes.
Have you guys dealt with any situations perhaps where maybe death, and did you guys change if somebody died close to you? I'm just trying to, situations that will cause you to lean on God because you don't have the understanding of what's going on in life. I don't know if you guys have ever come anything like that.
So, yes, God is definitely a big part of our marriage. I mean, he's the center of it. And so I have found that I have to do it daily, because if not, I'm not a good wife and I'm not a good mother if I don't have my alone time with God. I have learned that if I miss a day, I'm off. I can remember it was a time where I was running every day, and he'll say, "Did you run today? Like, you didn't run today, did you?" Because he would know it was a shift in my whole personality, my body language, everything. And so I wanted it. I was like, gosh, if he knew I didn't run, then I want him to know that, if I was in my word, that's, I guess for me, that was the comparison. That was the parallel. Like, okay, you working out your physical body, but are you doing that in your spiritual life? So it had to be this equal balance. So I realized that once I started to strengthen my spiritual relationship with God, that our relationship became stronger, because it was an individual unit. We were doing it individually and together. I really feel like that's important. I mean, without it, it's just your marriage is gonna fall apart. If you're claiming Christianity as your faith, but you're not doing anything, it's gonna crumble. The foundation is not there. There's no foundation. There's a crack in the foundation. So I'm saying, if you're proclaiming Christianity, let God be the center and do it right. I mean, look to him. I mean, all the answers are in the book.
I was going to add to that that is critical, man. I mean, having that personal, individual relationship with God, because the enemy, he's always looking for just a small little window of opportunity into your relationship, and all it takes is a small window, and usually every time the issues that we had to face, as far as our relationship, I had to look back and like, I wasn't as consistent as I should have been in my prayer life. I wasn't consistent as I could have been in my devotion with God. And I realized that, you can't allow like a day to go by without talking to your Heavenly Father, man. Because as a man, if you're trying to hold together a marriage, a family, all in your own strength without God, man, it's very weighty, and it feels like a burden, and you just feel like, God, like where's the end, where's the light end of the tunnel, man? But when you as a man, when you go to God, like, God, I need your direction, because my family's depending on me. They depend on me for direction, for vision for this family, and I mess up if I do it on my own. I realize that I will mess up if I lean on my own understanding, that I will steer my whole family in a direction they shouldn't be going, because I'm trying to figure it out on my own intellect. And so it's very critical. And you had mentioned something about death. I mean, she recently had last year she had a death of her aunt, and my grandfather just passed a couple months ago. And but we both we both we prayed for each other. Yeah, both prayed for each other and for strength for each other, man, because they both were very close to us. But as far as changing our behavior, I mean, I think just having that foundation, man, it's everything. Not to say that you don't grieve. I mean, because losing the loved one is just, it hurts, but you have to help each other go through that process. And it's just, I mean, Christ is everything. I couldn't do it, man. It wouldn't last. Will it be 12 years this year? Yes. We wouldn't have made it this far without God, I can tell you that.
No way. No, that's good.
I mean, you guys are just a beautiful couple. I mean, even when you guys are talking, you guys are still looking into each other's eyes and everything.
My baby.
Wait, we didn't ask one question.
Yes.
And I mean, obviously, you guys probably find each other attractive, but for the listeners, how important is attraction?
Come on.
Listen. We didn't talk about it, and we didn't talk about sex. Listen. How important is sex? Are these things important? Because when I don't know, a lot of times when they're in church, they talk to single ladies like,
let me drink some water.
Make sure you're doing this. Make sure he's Boaz. He's a nice guy, but nice is not going to always cut it.
Listen.
So how important is sexual attraction to your spouse?
Very important.
Very important. You need to be physically attracted. We're not going to go to the bedroom with a Bible. Quote the scriptures. I mean, you have to be. Let's be honest. You have to be physically attracted to that person.
I agree. If you're not physically attracted to that person, I seriously doubt that you even go to God about, is this the one for me? If you ain't attracted to it, you ain't asking God nothing about that individual.
Because I believe He's gonna give you His best.
Yes. Absolutely, man. I'm not gonna ask for no phone number. I'm not gonna ask let me get your Facebook. I ain't gonna ask none of that stuff if I ain't attracted to it, man. I mean, and that's what attraction is. I mean, you can be spiritually attracted, and you can be physically attracted. But just you asking me, I think the physical attraction comes first.
Absolutely.
And then as you learn, that attracts to that person initially, and then once you learn more about that person, have that conversation and know more about them, then but that spiritual is is very important as well. I think you would be a misfit if you only have a physical attraction to that person, and that's it.
Right.
That's very surface. That's not going to mean a hill of beans when you start going through stuff, and you start going through stuff for your marriage. Cute, fine ain't gonna mean nothing.
Yeah.
If you're cantankerous.
Yeah. No, I feel y'all, and I mean, like, honestly, I wish we had more time. Because we're actually gonna do this whole series again. We're gonna do a part 2 probably later in the year, and we would love to have you guys back because there's other things we would love to talk about with you guys. Just it's in more detail, and I think it really helps people just to seeing just real examples of relationships. Like we didn't want to get a couple that was too old because then people say, well, because back then in the day. But you guys got married in 2006, so we talking the new millennium. Right? Yeah. So you understand? You still with it? You still hip? So. It's been a blessing having you guys on. I think this is going to be a nice ending, moment to this whole relationship series we had. And I'm so happy that you guys were a part of it. Jerome, that's my boy from way back. You know what I'm saying? So it's always it's always nice to know like your best friend could be a part of your growth and everything you do in your life. And the fact that I could realistically call, not because he's my homie, not because I like you, Sondra, but because like I know you guys personally, and you guys, y'all been through some things, and y'all been there for each other through it all. So it felt good to know that I ain't just calling them because we cool. I'm calling them because like look, they really got something to say, and that's a blessing to have those kind of people in your life that's been around that long. We're out of time, but do you guys have any like social media where people could follow you guys if they wanted to? Do y'all even have like y'all need to create a couple of social
together, yeah.
Y'all need to create a couple social media. That would be my challenge to you guys because you guys have a cute story, a very beautiful family, and like y'all have a lot of fun times. Like people should see that. Y'all work hard together. Y'all done started businesses. I mean, grown through a lot. I mean, I ain't gonna say where you work, but I know y'all balling. You know what I'm saying? You hook me up with some money. No, but I'm just saying, like, no, I know that God's been a blessing to you guys, and it was good having you guys on the show. It really was.
Thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure.
Katrina, tell them where they can follow the Nitty Gritty Show.
Quickly, if you guys are interested in following the Nitty Gritty Show, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Nitty Gritty Show.
All right, so look, this has been a great show. Also, know that the Nitty Gritty Show will come out to where you're at. If you have a nonprofit, if you're running for an office and we fill your platforms, shout out to Will Jawando and shout out to Kelly Fox who's been on the show, and we've actually participated in some of their events. Nitty Gritty will come to where you are and have a good time with you. We definitely enjoy doing that, and it's been a great show. It's your boy Jay DeCosta.
It's your girl Katniss.
And together we are the Nitty Gritty. The Scotts was on the show, had a good time, and you know what? We out. Y'all be blessed.